So, I mean, if there's someone else you want, you know of, who, any other boards or commission, it'll be in Warren on October 25th, and it's the conducting effective land use reviews.
So we go back to that. Do you think we should?
There are two. There's writing sound decisions and conducting effective land use
What
reviews.
day is?
It's a Thursday. October 25th is a Thursday.
Oh, yeah, no.
So, I mean, I would say if you've been...
Just as a refresher.
Well, that's fine. I mean, if you've been to conducting effective land use reviews, and I don't really remember who's been to which.
I can't remember either,
But,
so it's...
well, we can find out. It can't hurt.
No.
But, if you haven't been to this one, obviously, I'm biased, because I'll be teaching it, but I recommend it. Try to make it a useful thing. And I mean, one of the most useful parts of it in my experience is the interplay between the participants. Again, there's a lot of questions and a lot of issues that come up from different people, which actually ties back to what we were just talking with the other item. That's why I thought it might be helpful for you and the East Greenwich Historic District Commission to talk and, just share stories and experiences and best practices and worst practices.
I already have it in my schedule, so I guess I have to sign up, Susan.
And it's free for board members in Bristol, since the interlocal covers it.
I think it's a great idea, but I'd also like to know who's determining what is best practice. And I think that it would be important to reach out to the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions and find out what they recommend. And I appreciate you bringing that to us, but I also feel it's a little bit of a strange thing since you represent that commission as well. So you're obviously going to think it is best practice.
No, I mean, that's what I said.
I'd rather it come from an association.
Okay. I mean, once upon a time, the State Historic Preservation and Heritage Commission conducted regular training sessions.
Yeah, that's fine.
And in fact,
so
I used to...
Excuse me, that's why I'm saying to Sue, I would like somebody to contact the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions and find out what they think we should do.
Okay, I don't think that this is that sort of thing. This isn't, and I didn't say best practices. I think it's the best experiences and worst experiences.
You did say best practice.
Okay, well, I meant experiences. Your best experiences, what works, what doesn't, what hasn't worked for you. I think it would be good to have more training, and I think it would be good if you get someone from the National Alliance to come to this.
I'm not saying for them to come here. I'd like them to be contacted and find out what their recommendation is.
Well, that would come from Grossmart, not from us.
No, it would come from Sue.
But we're not sponsoring it.
No, she's talking, I think you're going back to talking about the workshop.
Yeah.
Not the Grossmart.
Yeah.
You're talking about the
okay,
workshop.
then
with you.
Okay, so we're talking about the Grossmart.
Okay. Yours.
City. Discussion of additional staff review for inclusion, and has anyone given that any thought? The two signs we had today were pretty cut and dry, but they were on the agenda because they're new signs. The one on the Phoenix, that the shape of the sign exactly fits in the header that's under the door. I don't know if you want to make that type of sign a staff review type of sign. What do you feel that it's necessary or whether you'd like to have that added sign up?
I think sometimes we really should have signs because some of them might be bigger and they slip past, pass them a sign and the dimensions slip past.
I know it's hard to be specific about what size.
Right.
I'm just throwing it out there.
I understand. I mean, the sign that was down on Thames Street that we asked to take down. I mean, that was an obvious sunset.
That wasn't a sign of that.
No, that's what I mean. He put it it up, so I mean.
Well, there are some, I mean, there are obvious signs that have to be put up.
Right.
These two, there are signs like these two that come up every once in a while. Do you want to mention to them?
Well, unless we have some volunteers who wanna, if anybody wants to volunteer to prepare a sign off for signs, then,
We already have a sign, some.
right, some signs. So if someone wants to expound on it and want to volunteer to do that, then that would be
Well, I guess
fine.
we have to figure out the criteria of which we would need to see a sign versus a sign-off sign. Because we actually, the sign in the nail salon on Hope Street, that, if that was a sign-off, we'd all be unhappy with the result of that, I think, versus the
A lot of it
two
has
we
to
saw.
do with experience.
Yeah.
Excuse me, could you speak into the microphone? It's very hard to hear.
A lot of that has to do with experience, and also the historical and architectural importance of the building. Obviously, the building on Hope Street is much more important than that addition to the building that you can see from Thames Street. The Phoenix building is obviously an important building, but again, if that sign fits exactly over the header on the building, and is very, it is appropriate when you consider the rest of the signs that are approved to town. Now, if you have a chairman or a staff person who is not familiar with the importance of buildings or previous history, maybe allowing that kind of sign to be administratively approved is not a good idea.
Well, anybody have any comments? Sorry, I mean, I think the way it's,
Excuse me again, could you speak into the microphone? We cannot hear back here.
I think, is this in behind us? I think that we should probably maintain the process that we're using now. I'd rather spend time I mean, I know that in the grand scheme of things, a sign is a sign. However, if it's inappropriate and it's in your face on Hope Street, then I think it's something we need to look at. Unless anybody has any other thoughts?
Well, I have a comment. I think the situation of the Hope Street Nail Studio, she was going to make the whole front window a sign by putting red fabric behind this white print that was on the window, and do a lot of other things. So essentially she was going to have 3 or 4 signs on the window, and I think we have to be able to limit that and focus just on one sign per, you can do certain information. So I think that's one thing that people might try to slip by using the glass for extra signage. I think we tolerate it within limits, but it can't look too wide open. So, but I think Susan might be able to just figure that out, right, when people come in? No?
I guess then we'll keep it the way it is until it doesn't work anymore. Okay. Is that okay?
Anything else that you thought might be added to it?
Only if it comes, we don't know if it, unless it comes up. So we'll have to keep a running tab on some of the things as they come up before us.
Is there something written? Do we have a brief on this?
Yes, there is. And I've sent it to you several times.
Could you send it again, please?
Yes, I can.
Thanks. Maybe we could review it all again and then talk about it at the next meeting?
We'll see how the
Okay.
agenda is.
Okay,
next
all right.
meeting.
Would it help if I mailed them to you, paper copies instead of, because as I say, I emailed them to everybody several times.
I think if you put it in the next packet,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
if you
So
could
it's-
add that in the next packet, and then we can actually make a point of it to address in the packet. That's the best.
Yeah, we can review it when the packet comes, when we
And
review
minutes.
everything else,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
right.
Okay. As you probably know, the zoning board on Monday night remanded the decision for the Belvedere Hotel, SAT Development LLC, James Roy. It was remanded to you. Now, we don't have the written decision yet. The minutes have to be done. That will be done by Ed Tanner and reviewed by Mark Haddon, acting as a solicitor. So we don't have the exact stuff. But I was there, obviously, and I just wanted to talk to you now basically about the scheduling and procedure for it. The zoning board determined there's no new testimony that's going to be taken. You're not going to be having any more new testimony. It's simply going to be to answer their questions about the decision. So I don't know whether you want to try to schedule a special meeting for it, or if you want to put it down for your November meeting, and then see what comes up. If you get a lot of other regular applications on the November meeting and you want to move them to a special meeting, that's why I thought put it on this agenda to see what your pleasure was about scheduling this.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's hot, it's just the topic is, I think we should
Could you
make
speak
a
into the microphone?
As hot as this topic is, I think we should have a special meeting. I don't think that we should have this without other agenda items. It's not fair to the people who come in and not putting in applications.
Unless we hear the applications first. And then,
But then if we have a long application.
no, I understand.
And then poor people have to wait. I mean, the people who are involved in it should be able to come in and hear this for that one night, and that's it.
It's fine with me, whatever.
I agree.
So what's, actually, can you repeat what's going to happen at that meeting? The zoning board's going to come, or those people are going to come before us again?
No, neither.
Neither?
No.
Okay.
The zoning board, you're going to get the written decision from the zoning
Okay.
board sometime before that meeting.
Right.
And you will, there will not be any new testimony taken. Nobody's going to come before you to re-argue anything or new testimony. It's going to be remanded for you to clarify elements of the decision. Now, Susan was nice enough to make copies of the decision. Again, I know it was sent by everybody by email, but we got copies here, hard copies that we can pass out, so you'll have a copy handy to reread. And I don't really want to get into any of the actual detailed procedures at this time, because that's not what we're here for. That's not what's on the agenda. It's basically just the scheduling. But that will be part of what you're going to discuss.
So we're going to discuss your findings of fact and how it relates to our decision that went before the board at the last meeting. Correct?
Well, these are your findings of fact, because you voted on it. So, yes, but that's what you're going to discuss. And the zoning board decision will have what their concerns are, and that's what you need to discuss. Now, I guess with the special meeting, the other thing too, since this was, you had 7 members with the alternate, and it was a 4-3 decision, you should have all those 7 same people present at that next meeting. So I guess we're going to have to, Susan's going to have to poll people to find out when people are available.
Is anyone going on vacation in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah,
Okay, so,
I'm sorry, December?
7th to the 12th,
I don't think it's going to be that far in the future.
just let you know.
I'm going away on business from the 14th of October to the 19th of October.
I'm leaving tomorrow for vacation, and I'm back next Friday.
Okay.
And then I've got random work things throughout the end of the year.
Okay, all right, well, that's
So I
fine.
have to spell out.
I wish I was going somewhere, but I'm not.
I mean, at this point, I don't know, because I don't know when we're gonna have the zoning board decision.
Right.
So I
But
don't
at
know,
least
but,
we
but
know-
you've got to, there's a determination, you want a special meeting, so we'll.
Correct.
try-
But that's
we'll
why
work
we're
a
going through, so
schedule.
that we know when not to schedule
Right,
it. Since
exactly.
these are the people
Right.
who are at the other meeting.
We're
We just
narrowing
need
it.
to check with John.
Right.
Mary, do you have any limitations? We just have to check with John and Sunny. Okay. So we'll get the,
But we'll wait till we get the decision.
right, and
And
then we'll go
then
from there.
we'll take cross out the dates that people have said they're definitely not available, and then circulate some dates.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we have any project monitor reports?
Hey, I have a question for you. Now, on October 30th, I think it is the zoning board meeting with planning?
October 30th is, yes, the zoning board will be hearing the appeal from the planning board, yes.
Right. So now, let's say the same decision comes down to the planning board. What is the procedure after that?
If
They have to meet, I assume they have to do the same thing one night.
they would have to do, yes.
Then, does that all come together again to the zoning, or how does that work?
Well, yeah, whatever, if it's a remand, I mean, if it's an overturn, that's different. If it's a remand, my understanding would be that this board would have their decision that would go back up to the zoning board. And then,
I'm sorry. Okay.
so let's just talk about you, because that's what we got here. So, I meant you as in the Historic District Commission, but, so the Historic District Commission would respond to the zoning board concerns in the remand and send something back in writing to the zoning board.
If we vote no, that ends it with that?
It's not, I don't know, okay? We're getting into the substantive stuff there that I prefer to do once it's advertised for the actual discussion and so forth, okay? But I'm assuming that one way or another, there'd be something written which would go back to the zoning board. The zoning board would be considering that.
Are they still
And then-
considered the Board of Appeal?
Yes, they're still sitting as the Board of Appeal, and they're still open. And they'll get what you send back in writing. And they may say, yeah, nope, this doesn't do it, we're overturning the decision. Vote to overturn the decision. They might say, yep, okay, that explains it, and vote to uphold it. They could conceivably vote to remand it again, but I think that would be very unlikely. So those are the options. And a similar but parallel course would follow with the planning board, depending on what
So this board here,
they did. Yes,
when we meet on this special meeting,
yes.
it's basically going to be the last time that we have to do this.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
There's things that we haven't discussed, that never came, that we haven't had an opportunity to discuss the finishes. And we were supposed to vote for the building at the last meeting, and it's like, whoa.
Well, that's
We
right.
haven't even discussed this amongst ourselves.
Okay, well, I mean, that's part of what you'll be having, meaning, the finish is right. I mean, no matter what, if it's eventually approved and built, they've got to come back for the details and the finishes, the light fixtures and all that stuff, and the materials, other than,
I would think that would have to come, I mean, that's the least of it, but that's something that needed to come before us, before any of us made a decision
well,
for the rest of it.
that wasn't the vote of the majority.
Well, it wasn't even brought up, that's why.
Well, just to clarify, in the past when we have done large projects, we vote on the project, and then the applicant comes back with specifics about the windows, the trim, the lights, what the foundation's going to be. We vote on the project, and then we go to the specifics.
So you just vote on a box, or whatever it is, a
On
box
the-
with a
on-
ribbon,
Essentially on the
Architects.
form and
On the
masses,
design.
yes.
form and massing, okay.
And the design.
So
And
we
the
would-
design, I mean, we've had that some, I'm thinking of that red colonial house near North Farm, just
Right.
before North Farm. And
Correct.
it came in the first time, and it was more about the overall and the addition and so forth. Then they came back, and there was more stuff with the windows, and then they came back again. Not as big a building, obviously, but yes. I mean, you have not had much new construction
We haven't.
before you.
Never,
Actually.
Well, we've done
Yes.
it with,
not, I mean, for me,
we
since
have done
5
it
years.
with Stone Harbor, with the new building at the south portion of the project. We did that, as well as, please,
And
The
the
library.
library, that's right.
The
the
school,
school.
called Andrews School Edition.
So,
Those were a little different.
yes, the award-winning school. So, we'll do that, and we will schedule the meeting, and we should be all set. Any other questions? Any questions? Okay. So can we move to project monitor reports? Anybody have any?
No update.
None?
I have a question, just a quick one. Graves.
Yeah, remember Graves, I had the sign for the,
Right.
they put their old sign up, and never changed it. Did anything with it? I don't know what the situation was, but she
I
just.
didn't hear what it said.
Graves, I had this sign, she had a plan for a new sign, right, because they, new location. And she took the old sign from the other building, put it on this sign, and that was it. And they basically the same place, the same stuff.
I think they painted the building, because both sides are down,
Yeah.
except on the shed, it's still facing the
Are
water.
they still looking better?
No. On the shed is the old sign,
Yeah,
maybe for people coming in.
While we're there, I've had quite a few compliments on the tent that's down on
Yeah.
Thames Street. I mean, people are very impressed with the facility. And now it's supposed to come down? November?
Yeah, that was November.
Yeah, but that was a good move.
It's gonna have to be sent to the store. I think
Again,
it'll
could you
take
speak
about-
into the microphone? We really can't hear back here.
Okay.
Thank you.
I thought I talked to you.
The tent will have to come down soon, I think, because they have to take the dogs out and store the dogs there.
Oh, that's right.
Also, the synagogue has put their sign board up, and they moved the sign to the south side of the building, and it looks fine. It's very kind of quiet, in case anybody wanted to know that. That's all I have. Anybody else?
No.
Someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Happy trick or treat?
Oh, yeah.